Okay, so welcome to just breakdowns for my HBAR and H radio part-time students, third years. So the brief, don't get confused just for the HBAR students, the journalists. It's the same brief. So if you see the H radio there, don't panic. It's the same thing for all the third years. Let's get into the on-air broadcast, which I know that you have started already. We have already done our first Snoop session, which was great. Thank you for your commitment and immediate participation. So let's just quickly go straight into when this is due for. It's the 18th to the 22nd of September. So that gives you a couple of weeks. So remember that I think that's it should amount to about this looks like it's about 7 weeks from now. And just remember that when you are recording, please record the shows actually, so that you do have enough to obviously come to the Snoop sessions that make sense, so we can actually analyze them, and then I can give you feedback. But also, you're going to have a choice to submit your best show that you do have. Okay, so let's go through the assignment. And this is a group assignment. In a group, you are tasked to do a multiple on-air broadcast sessions, say broadcast sessions, né? Between the 31st of July and the 22nd of September, after which you are going to focus on your demos, which I've explained in class as well. That will come back to class. We'll do a couple of lessons as well to close up the theory for the year, and then you'll go into individual shows for your demos. But let's not jump the gun. Let's focus on what's important right now. Okay. So each show is to be recorded to demonstrate your ability to be part of a group, definitely, because that's what we do in radio. Or team players, right? Especially for show players, right? And create a compelling radio show. The criteria which the show is required to meet is going to be listed below, and we're going to go through that in detail. Please pay special attention to the criteria as well as the evidence that is needed to be provided, right? So, in addition to the show itself, there is going to be a theoretical aspect to this that you will submit in a Word document or PDF up on Cole Campus, or to Cole Campus. And what will happen is that I will take those radio shows from you. You don't have to submit the actual 2 hour show online. You'll just actually submit it to me, and then I will mark it, and then I will forward that to the moderators, which is Grant, right? So that'll happen also with the Snoop part of this. There are two parts of this assignment. It's the first initial Snoop, which will happen within the next 4 weeks, right? As I've explained in class, I will just randomly pick a day for the Snoops to be marked. Okay, you won't know, so that we can reflect. Okay, we can mirror how the industry actually works. Like when your boss snoops you, you don't know that they're listening, so that you basically do a great show all the time, every time, right? And then they will call you in and they will do a snoop or an evaluation from that, right? So we want to mirror that so that you do know exactly how the industry works as well. And that you do get a taste for this. Please also remember, like, this is a great time for your learning. It's a great time to be on air. It's a lot of fun. Put a lot of effort into that, and just so fun. Like I say, when I say fun, not in a whimsical way that you don't have any responsibilities and stuff. Like, have some pride in your work. I have a lot of pride in your work. I know that you are hard workers as well. And something great that you can be proud of at the end of the day. Please also note that you can draw from these shows for your demo, or you can then also just, if you're not happy with anything, let's say that you did present, I'm saying, within these shows that will be submitted for the F3, right, or the show that you will submit at the end of the day, right, then you will have obviously that opportunity to record your own shows and complete that S1. All right, the show will need imaging, right? Will be provided for you, so you know that if you have done a show already, that we do have the BMH imaging. You are more than welcome. I know that you did ask, and I was very happy with that and excited that you did want to do that proactive. The producers in the class did want to proactively generate their own imaging, which I can assist you with as well. But you do have your sound engineering knowledge to just do some, let's say, IDs, for the show, or IDs for a DJ or for a feature. Definitely create one for a feature, and that's a lot of fun. You can do a nice little a wet ID or a wet jingle there. So that means with effects and however it is, something that's quite creative and comical if it needs to be, or it can be dramatic if it is like for let's say a talk show segment or whatever it may be, right? So, but otherwise than that, please do use the provided imaging from the station. We want to kind of keep that consistency going and that quality that goes through Kabange as well. Okay, the voice links and features at least 5 voice links per hour as per the clock that we did construct together in the first semester in the first F1. You can just tweak it now for a 2 hour show. All right, at least one original recorded piece of content per show. So examples are a parody, a prank, vox pops, a pre-recorded interview, and then obviously your content links. Please remember that your show must have news and sports bulletins, weather, traffic, as well as the economic indicators or financial indicators, right? Which do then include your US dollar, your pound sterling, your euro. You can include the yen or the Australian dollar now and then your commodities, which is your gold per fine ounce, and then your barrel of Brent crude oil. All remember in dollars, please. And if you want to include the platinum or the silver, you're more than welcome to do that. I have no problem with that. Okay. Please remember again that traffic bulletins are updated like on the go. So while you're doing the show, because it is going to be broadcast live. Okay, and that obviously when you are doing your sports and you are doing your news that you do prepare it on that day so that it is still relevant. So 3 hours before the show is a good enough time. I know that some of you have split the news and the sports responsibilities, which is fine with me as well. I don't mind when you do go on air so that the work is just a little bit less. But just make sure that the work is evenly delegated and across the group so that everyone is doing a fair amount of work. Okay. All right. Anyway, so the show needs to be recorded. So in the computer, you'll see that in the news booth across the live studio. Please go there, and if let's say Kabang is not around and you don't know whether it's just being recorded automatically, right? Please do check before. This is all your responsibility to make sure that you check these things before you do go on air. So check with Kabange, check that, let's say, if not, you have to record in Audition and know how to record a session in Audition that has been set up. There's a template that I know that has been set up there as well that you can automatically use and just press record before the show starts. Let's say you are doing a handover, then just make sure that someone records the moment that the news begins at the top of the hour. So you're going to try and at your best make sure that you submit a 2 hour show, knowing full well that there is load shedding, and so there will be a little bit of leniency in terms of maybe like a 5 to 7 minute cut off from that 2 hours, right? Okay. But let's hope and obviously that doesn't disrupt you too much. Okay. All right. So it says you're required to start recording before the first link and stop the recording during the last song. So there you go. You have that little window. Okay. So if any technical problems arise before, during, after recording, you're not to notify the studio supervisor, so Kabange, immediately. Okay. The assessment is broken down into 3 parts, right? So the snoop, the air check, which is going to be the beforehand. So when I say beforehand, it's going to again be one of those random shows that you do submit every week that we are snooping every week. And I'll say this one now is going to count. So we'll go down to the breakdown in just a moment. And then the final complete show, which is 7% of the mark and 10% of the mark will be for actually doing and attending your shows. For every show that you do miss, 5% will be deducted from your final mark, and a register is to be signed when you go do that. So Kabangi will organize that. There is a paper there and that you are dedicating yourself. Okay. At any one time, also just remember that you must be updating, like for the HBAR students, you must go to the online register because and update that, especially for if you have attended the Snoops, go there because we know that let's say we've broken up the four parts into 4 groups. Just go and fill in your names for those details, so we do keep track of also your attendance there. Okay. Right, let's go into section A, which is the air check or the snoop, okay, which is 20 marks, and you're going to see the breakdown of it, which is more important. I'm going to actually quickly go through this. So you'll be required to book an air check session every week with me. That's right, which you've already done, because we're not going to vie off, and so that's why we wanted the four groups so that it's stagnant throughout the entire process, right? And then it'll see there you'll be marked within lectures 3 or 5 of the semester, and then obviously the last chance of the snoop will be on by the 8th of September, etc., etc. Right, but I'm going to mark something between week 3 and week 5, right? Okay, so you will have to submit that show that I can also then submit for moderation, please. So just as a note, which I know it sounds kind of obvious, because if you are doing a snoop, that means you have come with an audio recording. But just please remember that you'll just then save it to, let's say, my laptop, and I'll just then share that with Grant so that he can do what he needs to do. Okay. Section B is the final show itself. So again, you will be required to then choose the best show from all the shows that you have done. That's why you need to keep, don't delete them, please. Go and have a look, go and obviously then revise all the shows that you have done before you do submit this F3, and then go pick the best one that you think is going to obviously represent you best, but also get you the most marks as well, that you haven't broken any or as many of the rules as you have in, let's say, some of the other shows. Okay. Also note that let your egos go. For example, if there is more than one presenter and one presenter did present a better show than another, rather go with the one that is presented better. And like I said, don't let it affect your ego. You are all working for a mark that is accumulative together, and so let's be team players. Okay. All right, so the theory, right? The theory aspect of this, each show will be required to submit a character profile. Please, if you don't remember what a character profile is, you must go back to the lesson that we did on character profiles, right? Which will break down everything that you need to do and how you need to do it, but you need to do one for each of the group members, okay? And what I want you to do is just submit the same assignment, please. So the same assignment for everybody. Please don't have varied assignments with different answers and different prep sheets and different features and stuff like that, different clocks, please. I'm going to mark one assignment, and I'm going to then have the same mark for everybody. So every obviously theoretical side, so the theoretical submission must have the show clock. So each show will be required to provide a sample of its broadcast day in the form of clocks. So one for each hour. Okay. So just remember, like, you'll be when you are doing the clocks, say link, 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 unless it is going to be a feature, okay, which is going to be the same time every single time you do the show, okay. And I'm happy with link, but then just make sure that your music has got the music playlisting categories in there, and that you got your news and your sports and your traffic as separate elements, your jingles as separate elements as well in there. Um, and then you should be good to go, right? So then you'll be required to provide a list of the features that you might have in the show. I recommended one feature to not really make everything too gimmicky, because I know that the students will automatically start making everything features, and we won't have these organic callouts. So please do that. Okay. So the feature, you're going to explain the mechanic. So the mechanic is the breakdown of how the feature actually then works. So you'll explain the feature to me, and then you'll explain to me how it actually works on air. So if you are going to explain something, then you're going to go to, let's say, songs, and you're going to come back with, let's say, callers or whatever it may be, or let's say it's a talk feature where you're going to be interviewing a person of interest. Let's say, I know there's a lot of people that want to talk about mental health, etc., etc. Like, just remember that the feature has to be original, and so you'll be marked down on the fact that whether this idea has been done before a million times. You must take an idea, and if it has been done before, then go and go tweak it a little bit to make it more original, right? Okay. All right, and then each show is required to create the prep sheet. So the prep sheet I've really already given you from last semester, a long time ago. And there, an example of a prep sheet. I've gotten some great submissions as well. So I know that you guys are on the right track. Um, and then the final show must be submitted again between the 18th and the 22nd of September. Right. So this is where we're going to actually put the focus quickly on, and the breakdown is the snoops. Okay. So this is so when you do the initial snoop, I'm saying marking. So ideally, every single snoop, I'm going to be looking for this kind of stuff and additional stuff that I can assist you with, and not in you making a better show. So the first element, so every time you break any one of these elements, you're going to lose just say one mark. So you lose the mark that you'll have. Here it's counts out of 10, and there's 10 different elements that you need to not break the rules. So you'll be marked negatively for this. Okay. So no dead air. If there is any point where there's dead air in the show, you're going to lose that mark. No repetition of elements in the spoken word and in the formatics. In other words, when you come back, let's say you are recapping, for example, and you're using the same words, right, as you did in the previous link, or you are repeating something that's in a voice note word for word, but we've just heard it, then you're going to lose that mark over there. Your feature must play as scheduled with a leeway of 90 seconds that you will be given. Okay. One pre recorded content piece per show that is engaging and entertaining. So I said to you, you are allowed to do that as Vox Pops, or you can do that as a pre-recorded, edited video, please. Okay. Imaging is played out correctly, so please between songs. And then obviously, if you are going to be playing for the news jingle, or you're doing a sports jingle, or you're doing a feature jingle, play it beforehand, and you are using the imaging correctly. The presenter must be audible at all times, including the news as well and sports. Songs to be played at 90% of their total time. In other words, just play the whole song and don't risk, let's say, cutting the song off. Remember, time management is a big thing. So if you can see that, let's say you're gonna, like it's at the top of the hour, the bottom of the hour before news, like you are gonna risk, let's say, cutting a song off, rather do a longer link to fill up the gap of that space and not risk cutting the song off. No crashing of vocals. In other words, don't talk over one another. Don't talk over voice notes. Don't talk over song vocals, right? All news and sports weather traffic bulletin each must be played exactly on time with 30 seconds as a leeway. And the last element here is that you mustn't talk over songs. Okay, right, which is kind of a repetition of crashing of vocals, but I told you crashing of vocals can happen and you talking over voice notes, and you talking over like elements of a song, whatever it may be, right? Okay, right. Give me a second here. Uh, Okay, so like I said, mark negatively, and then there is the creative competencies segment of it. So remember, this is still the first initial snoop that's out of 20, right? But you'll see that a lot of these elements are repeated in the 80 marks that will constitute part of the 80 marks as well. Okay, just there's going to be an extension of that of these elements, and you'll see in just a moment. Let me not get ahead of myself. Okay, so with the creative competencies and components, number one, are you talking to one person? The moment that you start saying guys, you guys, and also it's not just that particular fundamental that you must get correct, right? But it is also the way that you talk to somebody, and that you're not reading off a paper, and that you're not reading a script or whatever it is, or you're not talking at me. That is going to be the mark that you'll lose if you don't do, well, you do the opposite of that, right? Okay. All right. So is it conventional? Can an individual listener feel connected? So remember about passion. Passion is about presence, right? Number two, are you using visual language? Can I actually see the story? Don't explain far too much. Explain exactly what is needed um, for the relevance and the context of what it is that you want to talk about, right? Is there passion, fun, or is there humor? So I can hear that you are having fun. I can hear that you are invested, or let's say you are like again, just like let's say if it is funny, like it's a good sense of humor, right, and not like a dirty sense of humor or something that's with distasteful, right? Number four, is it relevant to the listener? Does it affect their health, emotions, money, or social awareness? Please remember, who is the listener? The student, right? So I'll be marking according to the conversational topics, the talkable topics that you do pick, and the features that you do pick. Are they relevant to a student's life? Do they reflect a student's life? Number five is there a talkable topic the listeners can discuss later with others. So, in other words, one, are you using the voice notes? Are you using some callers? Like, can I see that people did respond to you on social media as well if you are going to be taking that avenue as well? And also, I'll also judge whether this is something that people would talk about, like in their, everyday life, because they heard it on your show. Are there characters that we care about? So in other words, like when you are presenting, like that personality shines, right? It's magnetic. Like I will immediately start picturing you with the type of hair that you have. Like, is it cut this way? Like, what does your body look like? What does your face look like? And I know we have social media that gives that away for us, right? But the thing is that the listener will get so connected that they'll imagine so much more about you, that they do care about you. Are you telling a relatable story? So to me as the listener, have you connected me as the listener? And then also, where do you find your place as the presenter, as a person, right, in what you are saying? Is this information that can be found elsewhere? Of course, it's going to be information that's found elsewhere. You'll go look on the internet and stuff. That's true. But the thing is that if you do not go and create something new from that, you're going to lose this mark, right? So, in other words, go and combine different research that you do find, like, let's say, take sound bites and include that as part of your call outs, etc., to make it something new, right? So, number nine, is it personal without being private? So, in other words, is there any point in the show where you have crossed a line and I went, oh no, like I didn't really need to know that? Or have you not crossed like the proper line? Like, in other words, like, do you not get personal with me at any one point and not let me know a little bit more about yourself? Do you sound like you are wanting or you'd rather be somewhere else? In other words, if you're not present, you will not present correctly. You will not deliver correctly. Right. Okay. All right, so let's look at the again those aspects that I did speak to you about: the character map, the clocks, the features, and the prep sheet will be a total of five each and 20 as a total. And then you can see that now we go back to the technical representation, right, of what you saw. But this is not going to be for the actual show that you submit, the final show. So you can see that it's all repetition again of the technical elements, right? And then this is the difference here. The show is exactly 2 hours long. Again, I will be a little bit lenient, knowing that load shedding is an issue. Okay, so please be aware of all of these. It's exactly the same, just with a little bit of a change there at the end. And then you can see that the breakdown of our creative presentation is now a lot more in terms of what marks are being allocated to it. So same once again, are you talking to one person? Are you using visual language? Are you passionate about what you're doing? Fun or humor? Is it relevant? Is it a talkable topic? Characters that we care about? Once again, kind of the same, and same. But then so from here, do the presenters sound engaged and excited? Do they sound like they would rather be somewhere else? It's a little bit of a re-paraphrasing of before, but here are the additional elements here. Are the links easy to follow? Do the presenters make sense? And everything that is said is easily understood. Okay. So that'll be a 3 mark over there. If you at any one point in the show, like I say, if at any one point any of the links break any one of these rules, you're going to lose the marks. Okay. So just be a note, like mindful of that, and then on how the subtraction of the marks is actually going to work. Do the presenters tease or throw forward effectively in your generic links? So when I said to you, you're going to put the generic links in between the content heavy links, they need to be teasers, and you have to tease originally in a captivating way. And then once again, this is something that you're well familiar of: the hook, the crumbs, the payoff, and the blackout. Like, I'm going to be looking for that in every single link. And if you do break that rule in any one of the links, you'll unfortunately lose the marks. Right, imaging was played in the correct places, right? So in between songs, and again, like I say, with the news and again for features, it was played out at the correct volume. And then was the show technically proficient? So in other words, did you, again, with the dead air and everything, did it sound great? So I'm going to give you that mark then as well. And your attendance there is 10 marks. Okay. So that is a wrap of the breakdown. Again, here is just the cover page that you will submit alongside with that and declaration, etc., etc. Please don't forget that. And if there are any questions, you can just talk to me at any one point, but we'll get through this together. Good luck.